Have you ever sat quietly and wondered how someone who once meant everything to you could suddenly be gone? From your life, your routine, your world? As we grow older, friendships that once felt permanent begin to fade, sometimes by distance, sometimes by time, and sometimes through heartbreaking loss. And when it's someone you considered your best friend, the person you called first with news or leaned on in silence, the emptiness can feel impossible to carry. But here's a truth that may surprise you. For many people, real happiness after 70 doesn't begin with having more friends. It begins after losing the one they thought they could never live without. This video isn't about loneliness. It's about rediscovery. It's about the quiet, unexpected freedom that comes when you're no longer shaping your life around someone else's presence. Because in that silence, something new begins to grow, something peaceful, personal, and deeply powerful. Today, we're going to walk through 6 revealing truths that explain why losing your best friend could be the unexpected start of your most fulfilling years. And if you stay with me until the end, you may see this chapter of your life in an entirely different light. If you're ready for a new kind of peace, please comment number 1 below to let me know you're here. And don't forget to subscribe and tap the bell so you won't miss any of our weekly insights designed to support and uplift you after 70. Now let's begin. Number 1. You discover how much of your identity was tied to them. When you lose a best friend after so many years, someone who felt like a mirror to your life, you don't just lose the person. You lose a part of who you thought you were. In the beginning, it feels like something essential has been torn away. You reach for the phone to call them, only to remember they're not there. You sit in your usual coffee spot and notice the empty chair across from you. It hurts. But what's often overlooked is what begins to happen after that initial grief. In the absence of their voice, something quieter begins to rise, your own. You begin to notice how many choices you once made through their lens. How often you deferred, adapted, softened yourself to keep the peace, to match their rhythm. Dorothy, a 72-year-old retired schoolteacher, had spent nearly 4 decades with her best friend Linda, traveling, decorating each other's homes, sharing holidays. But when Linda passed away, something unexpected happened. At first, Dorothy felt lost. But slowly, she began to realize just how much of herself had been living in the shadows of the friendship. She started eating differently, walking in new places, even decorating her home in colors Linda had never liked but Dorothy had always loved. For the first time in years, she wasn't asking anyone's opinion. She was simply listening to her own. It wasn't about rejecting the friendship. It was about reclaiming the parts of herself she hadn't realized she'd given away. Sometimes it takes loss to remember who you were before someone else's presence filled so much of your space. And in that remembering, a whole new version of life quietly begins. If you're still here and finding this journey insightful, comment number 1 below to let me know you're with me. And if you haven't yet, please subscribe and tap the bell icon so you don't miss the next video designed to support your journey after 70. Number 2. Your days become yours again without guilt. When you lose a best friend, one of the strangest things you might notice isn't just the silence, it's the space. Your days, once woven tightly with calls, errands, shared plans, and little check-ins, suddenly open wide. At first, that space can feel frightening. The routines you once clung to feel hollow. You may find yourself reaching for the phone out of habit, looking at the clock wondering where you should be, feeling a strange kind of restlessness. But if you sit with that discomfort long enough, something else begins to happen. You start living on your own time again. Howard, a 76-year-old widower, had spent years making his best friend Michael a part of his daily schedule. Morning calls, weekly chess games, afternoon coffees. It was comforting, predictable. But after Michael passed away, Howard was left with endless open afternoons and long, quiet mornings. In the beginning, the empty calendar felt like an accusation, a reminder of what he had lost. But over time, Howard began to feel something he hadn't felt in years: freedom. No more checking his watch. No more worrying about disappointing someone. He could sit on the porch with his coffee and let the morning pass without a plan. He could choose a book on a whim, wander through the park without answering to anyone, take a nap simply because he felt like it. For the first time in decades, Howard's days belonged solely to him, and they felt lighter, more peaceful. The truth is, deep friendships often come with silent expectations. We bend, we plan, we hurry to meet unspoken needs out of love or habit. But when those obligations fall away, we are offered a gift most people don't recognize at first, the chance to live without guilt, without apology, and entirely on our own terms. It doesn't mean we loved our friends any less. It means we are finally free to love our own company just as much. If this message is resonating with you, comment number 2 below so I know you're still here. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please take a moment to subscribe and turn on the bell. Your support truly helps us continue creating videos to inspire and guide you after 70. Number 3. You see what was one-sided that you couldn't see before. Not every friendship ends with a heartbreaking loss. Some end in a slow, painful realization that the loyalty and love you gave weren't always returned. Sometimes it's not a funeral that breaks a bond. It's the quiet betrayal of being forgotten, dismissed, or used. When you're in the middle of a long friendship, you often brush aside the small disappointments, the phone calls that go unreturned, the birthdays that pass without acknowledgement, the conversations that seem to revolve only around them. You tell yourself it's normal, that it's what friendship is about, giving without keeping score. But when the friendship ends, whether through a bitter falling out, a moment of betrayal, or simply waking up one day and realizing you've been carrying it alone, you finally see it for what was. Elaine, 79, spent nearly 30 years as the devoted friend to Marlene. She was there through every crisis, every tearful call, every favor. But when Elaine needed Marlene most, during a frightening health scare, Marlene was nowhere to be found. No visit, no call, just silence. At first, Elaine made excuses. Maybe she was busy. Maybe she didn't know what to say. But deep down, she knew. Their friendship had always been one-sided. It had always been about Elaine showing up for Marlene, not the other way around. And while that truth was painful to admit, it was also freeing. Elaine realized she didn't lose someone who was truly there for her. She lost the illusion that she had been truly supported. And in that painful clarity, she found something else, the strength to be there for herself without waiting for someone else's approval. Sometimes the greatest sadness isn't the loss itself, it's realizing you accepted so little for so long. But once you see it, you never unsee it, and in that new vision, healing begins. If you're finding these insights helpful and they're touching something inside you, comment number 3 below to let me know you're still here. And if you haven't yet, please subscribe and turn on the bell so you don't miss more heartfelt content created just for you. Number 4. You rediscover passions that got buried. When you're deeply connected to someone for decades, it's natural for your routines, your hobbies, even your dreams to become intertwined with theirs. You go where they like to go. You do what fits both of your schedules. You compromise, not out of resentment, but because that's what friendship often asks of us. But after a friendship ends, whether by loss, betrayal, or simply growing apart, there's suddenly a wide open space in your life. And in that space, something long forgotten begins to stir, the pieces of yourself you put on hold for the sake of someone else. Frank, now 81, spent most of his retirement years adjusting his free time around his best friend Gary's love for fishing trips and sports bars. Frank didn't dislike those activities, but deep down, he missed painting, the quiet afternoons he once spent lost in color and canvas before his weekends were filled with plans not entirely his own. After Gary moved across the country unexpectedly, with barely a goodbye, Frank found himself with silent Saturdays and long, empty afternoons. At first, he felt abandoned. But one rainy afternoon, while cleaning out a closet, he stumbled across his old easel and paint set. On a whim, he set them up by the window. That day turned into the next, and soon Frank was painting again, losing himself for hours in the soft scratch of the brush and the flood of colors he had nearly forgotten he loved. The grief of losing his friend didn't disappear overnight. But alongside the sadness grew something new, a quiet kind of joy that didn't rely on anyone else's plans, moods, or presence. That's the hidden gift most people don't see right away. When certain friendships end, you don't just lose someone. You recover the forgotten parts of yourself, the passions and pleasures that have been waiting patiently for you to come back. If this part touched your heart or gave you hope, comment number 4 below to let me know you're still here. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe and turn on the bell. We have more stories and reflections designed to help you create your most fulfilling life after 70. Number 5. You learn that your strongest companion was always you. One of the deepest fears many people carry as they grow older is the fear of being alone. We're taught from a young age that happiness comes from being surrounded by others, that our worth is tied to how full our social calendar is. So when a friendship ends, especially one that shapes so much of your life, it's easy to feel like you've been set adrift. At first, the loneliness can feel sharp and unforgiving. You miss the familiar voice on the other end of the phone, the easy routines, the comfort of knowing someone was always there. But if you stay with that silence long enough, something extraordinary begins to happen. You start to realize you were never truly alone at all. Margaret, now 75, spent much of her later years depending on her best friend Carol for everything. Daily chats, weekend plans, constant reassurance that she was still needed, still loved. When Carol pulled away after moving in with her daughter across the country, Margaret felt lost, as though a vital part of her life had been erased. She went through weeks of sadness, asking herself what she had left. And then, slowly, the answer came: herself. She discovered that she could go to the cafe and enjoy a cup of tea without needing anyone across the table. She realized that an afternoon walk through the park could be deeply satisfying even with no one by her side. She found that her own thoughts, her own company, were more peaceful and more nurturing than she ever gave them credit for. The truth is, friendships can fill our lives beautifully, but they can also mask the fact that we already have everything we need inside us. When you no longer depend on someone else to validate your worth, you become unshakable. You find that your strongest, most loyal companion, the one who never leaves, who never betrays, who always listens, is yourself. And once you discover that, no loss can ever take it away again. If this realization feels powerful to you, comment number 5 below, and please subscribe if you haven't yet. We are building a community of strength, hope, and wisdom here, and we would love for you to be part of it. Number 6. Loss creates space for new, more effortless connections. At first, when a long-standing friendship ends, it can feel as though the world has closed in around you. You might believe there's no one else out there who could ever understand you the same way, no one who could step into the place that feels so empty now. But as time passes, something remarkable happens. When you stop clinging to old relationships out of habit or fear, you open a quiet, welcoming space in your life, and into that space, something new can gently arrive. Sometimes without forcing it, without chasing it, you find connections that are lighter, freer, and so much easier than what you ever thought possible. Walter, now 77, had spent decades nurturing a demanding friendship with his childhood friend Philip. Their bond was strong but heavy, often full of expectations and old resentments they never quite addressed. After a final falling out over something small but hurtful, Walter decided not to chase after reconciliation. Instead, he focused on living simply, morning walks, time with his grandchildren, small joys. A few months later, on one of his early strolls through the local park, he struck up a conversation with another man sitting on a nearby bench, also enjoying the sunrise. There were no expectations, no complicated history, just a few words exchanged about the weather, the beauty of the morning light, and a shared laugh. That small moment grew into an easy, genuine companionship, one based not on duty or nostalgia, but on simple mutual respect. That's the gift few people realize loss can bring. The space for something easier, something that doesn't weigh you down, something that fits who you are now, not who you were decades ago. When you no longer fill every corner of your life with old ties, you make room for new people, new joy, and new beginnings you never saw coming. If you're feeling a little more hopeful about your journey after 70, comment number 6 below. Your support truly keeps this beautiful community alive. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please take a moment now to subscribe and turn on the bell so you don't miss any future videos created just for you. As we close today's journey together, I invite you to take a quiet moment and reflect on everything we've uncovered. The idea that real happiness after 70 might begin with losing your best friend is not something we are often taught to see. We're told to fear loss, to mourn change, to believe that every ending is a tragedy. But maybe, just maybe, it's something else. Maybe it's a gentle clearing of the path, a quiet invitation to come back to yourself, to reclaim the parts of you that were waiting all along. Maybe it's an opening, one that allows new peace, new passions, and new, effortless connections to find their way into your life. Which of these 6 truths touched you the most? Have you experienced a friendship ending that, in time, led you to rediscover a deeper part of yourself? I would truly love to hear your story. Please take a moment to leave a comment below and share what stood out to you or what new thought you're taking away from this video. Your experiences not only inspire me, but also give hope to everyone else who reads them. And if you found comfort, clarity, or courage in this message today, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Your support helps us continue creating thoughtful, uplifting content to guide you through every beautiful chapter of life after 70. Thank you so much for being here with me, and I look forward to seeing you again in the next video.